The massive alien warship hung in Earth's orbit like a dark cloud blocking out the stars. Commander Vex stood on the bridge, his four eyes fixed on the blue planet below. His scaled hands clasped behind his back as he studied the tactical displays floating before him. Such a primitive species, he muttered, mandibles clicking in disappointment. Their most advanced cities are barely at level 3 technology. Why did Central Command even bother sending us here? His second-in-command, Officer Reed, approached with a data tablet. Sir, we've completed the initial scans of their military installations. Something interesting has come up. Vex turned, his interest mildly piqued. After conquering 17 worlds for the Stellar Dominion, very few things qualified as interesting anymore. Their combat potential readings are off the charts. Reed continued, showing him the scanner results. Especially in these facilities scattered across their landmasses, they appear to be training grounds of some sort. Vex's upper eyes narrowed while his lower ones widened, a sign of confusion in his species. That can't be right. Run the scans again. We already did, sir. 3 times. Reed's tail twitched nervously. And there's more. In many of these facilities, they keep creatures, small ones, by our standards. But the neural patterns between these creatures and the humans show unprecedented levels of cooperation. The commander walked to the main viewport, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath them. His species had encountered many worlds where the natives formed bonds with local animals, but they were always simple relationships, beasts of burden, food sources, or basic companionship. Show me one of these facilities, he ordered. The viewport shifted, zooming in on a sprawling complex in what the humans called North America. The scans revealed dozens of humans working with 4-legged creatures in various training exercises. The precision of their movements, the complexity of their interactions, it was unlike anything in the Dominion's records. What are these creatures? Vex asked. They call them dogs, sir. Specifically, these appear to be military working dogs. The facility is designated as a K9 training center. Vex watched as one of the dogs took down a human wearing protective gear, the attack precisely controlled, the release immediate upon command. His upper right eye twitched. This level of control over a predator species was disturbing. Sir, Reed interrupted his thoughts. Central Command expects us to display our dominance quickly. They suggest we make an example of one of their military installations. A slow smile spread across Vex's face, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Then let's start with this one. Let them see how their precious dogs fare against real war beasts. He turned to his combat master. Prepare the Ravagers. I want them ready for deployment within the hour. The combat master's scales paled slightly. The Ravagers, sir, for such a small facility. Yes. Vex's voice carried an edge of anticipation. Let's show these humans what real combat animals look like. Our Ravagers have been bred for war across 100 generations. Each one is the size of their ground vehicles, with armor plating that can withstand their primitive weapons. The bridge crew began preparations, but Reed lingered. Sir, if I may, these readings suggest we shouldn't underestimate. Enough. Vex cut him off. I've heard similar warnings on every world we've conquered. The natives are special. They have unusual abilities. In the end, they all fall before the might of the Stellar Dominion. He turned back to the viewport, watching the K9 facility with all 4 eyes. Release the dropships. I want boots on the ground in 15 minutes, and when the humans see our Ravagers. He paused, mandibles clicking in amusement. Then they'll understand what real power looks like. The bridge erupted into activity as orders were relayed and troops began moving to their positions. In the holding bays below, massive creatures stirred in their containment units, armor plates gleaming under the harsh lights, razor-sharp claws scraping against metal floors. What Commander Vex couldn't realize, was that he had just made a crucial mistake. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered a species that had spent thousands of years selectively breeding companions for war, work, and loyalty. He was about to learn why humans called dogs their best friends, and why challenging that bond was a terrible idea. The invasion of Earth was about to begin, not with a whimper, but with a bark. The morning sun cast long shadows across the K9 training field as Jack Miller put Max through their usual routine. The German Shepherd moved with fluid grace, responding to hand signals with the precision that came from years of working together. "Good boy," Jack said quietly, tossing Max his favorite rubber ball. Around them, other handlers worked with their dogs, the familiar sounds of training filling the air. Some practiced detection work, others ran obstacle courses, and a few worked on advanced takedown techniques. That's when the sky changed. It started as a low rumble, different from the usual aircraft that passed over the facility. Max's ears perked up before any human noticed something was wrong. The shepherd's posture shifted, his training kicking in as he moved closer to Jack. "What is it, boy?" Jack asked, instantly alert. 15 years in the military had taught him to trust a dog's instincts. The rumbling grew louder. Dark shapes appeared through the clouds, massive ships unlike anything Earth had ever produced. They blotted out the sun as they descended, casting the training field into premature darkness. The base alarm began to wail. "All personnel, this is not a drill." The base commander's voice crackled over the speakers. "Unknown aircraft over the facility. All handlers, secure your positions and await further orders." Jack watched as his fellow handlers snapped into action. There was no panic, no chaos, just the smooth efficiency of well-trained professionals. Dogs that had been playing moments before now stood alert, eyes focused skyward, bodies tense and ready. Command post reports similar ships over major cities. Someone called out, "We're getting reports of something being deployed from them." The radio crackled again. "All units be advised. Large hostile creatures are being dropped in sectors 3 through 7. They appear to be some kind of combat animals." Jack looked down at Max, who stood calmly at his side. The shepherd's ears were forward, his body relaxed but ready. Years of training had prepared them for anything, even if anything now included alien invaders. "Handler teams, form up," the base commander ordered. "Standard defensive positions. Whatever these things are, we treat this like any other deployment." Jack moved to his assigned position, Max keeping perfect heel position beside him. Around them, other handler teams did the same, creating a defensive perimeter around the facility. Some handlers grabbed their service weapons, but everyone knew their dogs were their most effective tools. Through gaps in the clouds, they could see more ships descending. Something large was being lowered from their bellies. Cages, Jack realized. Massive cages. "Look at the size of those things," whispered Tom, another handler, as he took position next to Jack. His Belgian Malinois, Rex, stood steady beside him. The first cage hit the ground about half a mile from their position. It was bigger than a tank, and whatever was inside made the metal creak and bend. A horrible screech filled the air as the cage door began to open. "All units, hold position," came the order. "Let them come to us. We have the home field advantage." Jack felt a strange calm settle over him. This was what they had trained for. Maybe not aliens specifically, but they had drilled for every possible scenario. Their dogs were the best of the best, and more importantly, they worked as a team. Max looked up at him, dark eyes alert but unafraid. Jack smiled. The bond between handler and dog was something special, something that had been refined over thousands of years. Whatever these aliens were throwing at them, they were about to learn why dogs had been humanity's partners in war since before recorded history. "Movement in Sector 4, someone called out. Through the morning mist, they could see them now. Massive creatures, each the size of a small house, with armor plating and claws that could tear through steel. They moved with predatory grace, their alien forms unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Jack heard someone laugh softly. "They think size matters," Tom said, scratching Rex behind the ears. "Should we show them how wrong they are?" Max's tail wagged once, his eyes fixed on the approaching monsters. Around the perimeter, dozens of other dogs stood ready, their handlers calm and focused. The aliens had brought their beasts to test humanity's strength. Instead, they were about to learn a lesson about what happened when you threatened a handler team. The real battle was about to begin. Commander Vex watched through the ship's enhanced viewing system as his Ravagers emerged from their drop cages. Pride swelled in his chest at the sight of the massive beasts, each one a masterpiece of genetic engineering. Their armored hides gleamed in Earth's sunlight, razor-sharp claws leaving deep gouges in the ground with each step. "Magnificent, aren't they?" he said to Officer Reed, who stood nervously at his side. "Watch how these humans react when they see true power." But Reed's attention was fixed on something else. "Sir, the humans, they're not running." Vex's 4 eyes narrowed as he focused the viewers on the K9 facility's perimeter. Indeed, the humans stood in organized formations, their small creatures sitting calmly beside them. No panic, no chaos, no fear. "Impossible," Vex muttered. "They can't possibly think those tiny animals can stand against our Ravagers." Each Ravager weighs as much as 20 of their ground vehicles combined. On the ground, the Ravagers moved forward in their practiced attack pattern. The beasts were the pride of the Stellar Dominion's Bioweapons Division, creatures bred for size, strength, and savage fury. Their neural implants allowed basic control, but in combat, they were allowed to unleash their natural killing instincts. The first Ravager approached the facility's perimeter, its massive head lowered, sensors detecting the heat signatures of the humans and their dogs. It opened its mouth, revealing rows of teeth the size of sword blades, and let out a roar that shook the very ground. The dogs didn't flinch. "Sir," Reed's voice carried a note of concern. "They're vital signs. The humans and their animals. They're completely calm. Their neural patterns actually show increased focus and coordination." Vex slammed his scaled fist on the command console, released the control limiters on the Ravagers. "Let them see what true savagery looks like." Down on the ground, the massive aliens' beasts surged forward as their neural restraints lifted. They moved with frightening speed for creatures their size, covering the distance to the perimeter in massive bounds. But something unexpected happened. Instead of breaking ranks, the human handlers moved with practiced precision. Hand signals and short commands sent their dogs forward in coordinated groups. The military working dogs split into their trained formations, moving with a speed and agility that made the Ravagers look clumsy in comparison. "Sir, the humans, they're using some kind of tactical system we've never seen before," Reed reported, studying the data streams. "The dogs are moving in patterns, coordinating their attacks. They're hurting our Ravagers." Vex watched in growing disbelief as the first engagement began. A group of 4 dogs circled one of his mighty Ravagers, moving in perfect synchronization. The massive beast tried to focus on one target, but every time it turned, another dog would dart in, nipping at its legs, forcing it to turn again. "This is impossible," Vex hissed. "Our Ravagers are the ultimate combat creatures. They cannot be outmaneuvered by these pets." But the evidence was right before his eyes. The dogs worked in teams, their movements guided by subtle signals from their handlers. They found weak points in the Ravagers' armor, targeted joints, and sensitive areas. And most importantly, they worked together. "Sir, we're detecting something extraordinary in the neural patterns between the humans and their animals," Reed reported. "The level of coordination. It's like they can read each other's thoughts. Our Ravagers' neural implants can't match this level of synchronization." A new sound filled the command center. The pained roar of a Ravager as it lost its footing, brought down by the coordinated effort of multiple dog teams. The mighty beast crashed to the ground, and immediately the dogs shifted their attention to the next target, never losing their disciplined formation. Vex's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. How can these primitive creatures defeat our greatest weapons? Reed studied the data scrolling across his screen. "Sir, I don't think we're dealing with primitive creatures at all. These dogs, they're the result of something we never considered possible. Thousands of years of selective breeding, training, and partnership with an intelligent species. They're not just animals. They're weapons refined by time itself. The commander stood in stunned silence as he watched his perfect plan beginning to unravel. He had unleashed his beasts, expecting to demonstrate the stellar dominion's superiority. Instead, he was about to learn a harsh lesson about the true nature of Earth's most faithful warriors. The first real clash between Earth's K9 units and the alien Ravagers unfolded like a deadly dance. Jack watched as Max led his team of 4 dogs against one of the massive creatures, their movements precise and practiced from countless training sessions. "Target the joints," Jack called out, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Max and his team responded instantly, years of training kicking in. The German Shepherd darted between the Ravager's massive legs, while 2 Belgian Malinois struck from the sides. The alien beast roared in frustration, trying to track multiple targets at once. Its size, which should have been an advantage, became a weakness. Every time it turned to face one dog, another would strike from behind, forcing it to spin again and again. "They're not used to fighting smaller opponents," Tom shouted from his position, directing Rex and another team against a second Ravager. "Look at their movements. They're designed to fight things their own size." He was right. The Ravagers' attacks were powerful but predictable, meant for head-on confrontations with large enemies. They had no defense against the quick, coordinated strikes of the military working dogs. Max ducked under a swinging claw the size of a car door, then sprang up to clamp his jaws on an exposed nerve cluster near the Ravager's knee joint. The other dogs struck simultaneously at different points, forcing the massive creature off balance. "Watch the tail," Jack warned, as the beast thrashed in pain. The warning came just in time. Max released and rolled away as the armored tail swept through the space where he'd been standing. Around the facility perimeter, similar scenes played out. Handler teams coordinated their efforts, using hand signals and short commands to direct their dogs in complex attack patterns. The Ravagers, for all their size and strength, couldn't adapt to these tactics. Team 2 pressed the advantage. The base commander's voice crackled over the radio. "Team 3, support their flank. These things are tough, but they're not invincible." Jack watched as Max regrouped with his team, the dogs moving in perfect formation. They were breathing hard but focused, their training overriding any fear they might have felt. Another Ravager approached, this one moving more cautiously after seeing its companion's struggles. "Ready, boy?" Jack asked. Max's ears perked forward, the signal that he was prepared for the next engagement. The new Ravager charged, its massive feet shaking the ground. But instead of meeting it head-on, the dog teams split into practiced formations. 2 dogs darted left, 2 right, while Max went straight down the middle, staying just out of reach. The alien beast hesitated for a split second, confused by the multiple threats. That moment of hesitation was all they needed. Max shot forward, faster than the Ravager could track, and launched himself at a spot just behind its armored head. His teeth found purchase in a gap between armor plates, striking another nerve cluster. The other dogs struck simultaneously at different weak points, their attacks coordinated through years of training. The Ravager reared back, trying to shake off its attackers, but the damage was done. It lost its balance, massive legs buckling as the coordinated assault continued. When it finally crashed to the ground, the dogs immediately disengaged, moving back into defensive positions. "Good boy, Max," Jack called out, pride evident in his voice. The German Shepherd returned to his side, alert and ready for the next threat. From somewhere above, they heard an alien scream of frustration, the sound of Commander Vex watching his perfect plan fall apart. "They're pulling back," someone shouted. Indeed, the remaining Ravagers were retreating, moving away from the facility with heavy steps. Their movements were uncertain now, nothing like the confident charges from earlier. But the handler teams didn't celebrate yet. They maintained their positions, dogs at the ready, watching for any sign of a new attack. This was what they had trained for, not aliens specifically, but adapting to any threat, maintaining discipline under any circumstances. Max stood beside Jack, his posture relaxed but alert. A thin line of alien blood stained his muzzle, but his eyes were clear and focused. Around them, other handlers checked their dogs for injuries, but thanks to their coordinated tactics, casualties had been minimal. The first battle was over, but somehow they all knew this was just the beginning. The aliens had learned a harsh lesson about Earth's defenders, but whether they would retreat or return with something worse remained to be seen. Either way, the key 9 teams would be ready. Commander Vex paced the bridge of his ship, his claws clicking against the metal floor. The tactical displays showed a scene he couldn't quite comprehend. His mighty Ravagers in retreat, outmaneuvered by creatures a fraction of their size. "Show me the battle analysis again," he demanded, all 4 eyes fixed on the main screen. Officer Reed brought up the footage, enhancing key moments of the conflict. "Sir, look at their attack patterns. Each dog team operates like a single organism, but they're also coordinating with other teams. The level of tactical awareness is remarkable." The footage showed Max's team taking down one of the Ravagers. Reed froze the image, highlighting the dog's movements with glowing lines. "See how they strike simultaneously at different weak points. They're not just attacking randomly. They know exactly where to hit." "But how?" Vex's mandibles clicked in agitation. "How do they coordinate so perfectly?" "Our Ravagers have neural implants, advanced combat programming. These creatures are using what? Simple sound commands." "Not just sound, sir." Reed brought up another display, this one showing the neural patterns between handlers and dogs. "Look at these readings. The bonds between humans and their dogs go beyond simple training. They can anticipate each other's actions, react to the smallest changes in body language. It's a level of cooperation we've never seen before." On the ground, the battle continued to unfold. The remaining Ravagers had formed a defensive circle, but this only made them easier targets for the coordinated dog teams. Every few minutes, another mighty beast would fall. "Our Ravagers are pack hunters," Reed continued, his tail twitching nervously. "But these dogs, they're something else. They're not just hunting in packs, they're executing complex military strategies. Each team has specific roles. Some contain the target, others strike weak points, while others stand ready to exploit any opening." Vex watched as Max led another assault. The German Shepherd moved with fluid grace, ducking under a Ravager's desperate swipe, while 2 other dogs struck from behind. The coordination was perfect, each movement flowing into the next like a deadly dance. "Sir," Reed's voice carried a note of realization, "I think we may have fundamentally misunderstood what we were dealing with. These aren't just trained animals. They're the result of thousands of years of selective breeding and tactical evolution." The commander turned all 4 eyes to his second-in-command. "Explain." "The humans didn't just tame these creatures, they shaped them. Generation after generation, they'd bred dogs specifically for different tasks. Some for speed, some for strength, some for intelligence, but all of them bred for one crucial trait, the ability to work with humans." On the screen, another Ravager fell. The dog teams immediately regrouped, moving to support other units without needing explicit commands. Their handlers directed them with subtle gestures, each team adapting instantly to changing situations. "Our Ravagers were engineered in laboratories," Reed continued, "designed to be as large and powerful as possible. But these dogs, they're the product of something far more powerful than genetic engineering. They're the result of co-evolution with an intelligent species." Vex watched as his mighty war beasts, pride of the stellar dominion, were systematically dismantled by creatures he had dismissed as pets. Each Ravager that fell was brought down not by superior strength or size, but by perfect teamwork and tactical precision. They're not just fighting, Reed observed quietly. They're protecting their handlers. Look at how each dog positions itself between the Ravagers and the humans. This isn't just training. It's instinct, bred into them over countless generations. The commander stood in silence, watching his perfect plan crumble. He had unleashed his beasts, expecting to demonstrate the Dominion's superiority. Instead, he was witnessing a masterclass in tactical warfare from creatures he had gravely underestimated. "Sir," Reed said, "what are your orders?" Vex continued to watch the battle, his mandibles clicking slowly in thought. He had learned a costly lesson about the true nature of Earth's defenders. The question now was, what would he do with this knowledge? The answer would determine not just the fate of this battle, but possibly the entire invasion of Earth. Commander Vex stood motionless before the giant data screen, absorbing the information flowing across it. Around him, his bridge crew worked in tense silence, processing the flood of data from Earth's surface. "Show me their history," he ordered, his voice unusually quiet. "Show me how they did this." The screen shifted, displaying thousands of years of human and canine evolution. Images flashed by. Ancient cave paintings showing humans hunting alongside wolves, early domestication, the gradual emergence of different dog breeds. "Fascinating," Reed muttered, his tail twitching with scientific interest. "They didn't create these creatures in laboratories like we did. They shaped them through selective breeding over thousands of years." The display showed hundreds of dog breeds, each specialized for different tasks. Hunting dogs, herding dogs, guard dogs, each breed carefully developed for specific purposes. But all of them shared one crucial trait: an unbreakable bond with humans. This one breed alone, Reed pointed to an image of a German shepherd like Max, has been used in military operations for over a century. They've refined its capabilities through careful breeding and training, selecting for intelligence, courage, and the ability to work seamlessly with human handlers. Vex watched footage from Earth's military history, dogs serving in countless wars, performing search and rescue, detecting explosives, protecting their handlers, each generation building on the successes of the last. "Sir," a tactical officer called out, "we're detecting something unusual in the neural patterns between the handlers and their dogs. It's unlike anything in our database." The commander moved to the officer's station, all four eyes focusing on the readings. The displays showed complex patterns of interaction, subtle body language, minute changes in tone, tiny gestures that conveyed complex commands. They're not just giving orders, Vex realized. They're having conversations. These creatures understand context, can make tactical decisions, can anticipate their handlers' needs. "More than that, sir," Reed added. "Look at these emotional bonds. The dogs aren't fighting because they're programmed to, like our Ravagers. They're fighting to protect their handlers. Their loyalty isn't enforced through neural implants. It's part of their very nature." New footage appeared on the main screen. Security cameras showing the current state of the battlefield. The remaining Ravagers had been cornered, their mighty forms surrounded by coordinated teams of dogs. Despite their size advantage, the alien beasts looked uncertain, their programmed responses inadequate against such precise teamwork. "How many breeds did you say they have?" Vex asked quietly. "Over 300 recognized breeds, sir, each developed for specific purposes. Some for hunting large prey, others for tracking, others for protection. And they're still creating new breeds, refining existing ones." The commander's mandibles clicked slowly as he processed this information. "We thought we were superior because we could create war beasts in laboratories. But they did something far more impressive. They took wild wolves and turned them into hundreds of specialized breeds, each perfect for its task. And they did it through patience and understanding," Reed added. "Not through force or genetic manipulation, but through cooperation and mutual evolution." Vex watched as another Ravager fell to a coordinated dog team attack. His mighty war beasts, created through the most advanced genetic engineering in the stellar Dominion, were being defeated by creatures shaped through nothing more complex than careful breeding and deep understanding. "Sir," Reed said carefully, "I believe we may need to reconsider our assessment of human capabilities. Any species that can achieve this level of cooperative evolution is not to be underestimated." Vex finished. He turned to his tactical officer. "Show me their other achievements. Not their technology, but their biological adaptations. Show me what else they shaped to their will." As new data began flowing across the screens, showing humanity's long history of animal husbandry, selective breeding, and cooperative development, Vex realized he had discovered something both fascinating and terrifying. These humans hadn't just created loyal companions, they had demonstrated the patience, intelligence, and determination to reshape other species through generations of careful selection. And if they could do that, what else were they capable of? The revelation shook him to his core. This wasn't just a tactical defeat, it was a fundamental challenge to everything the Stellar Dominion believed about their own superiority. The morning sun climbed higher over the K9 training facility as the last Ravager fell. The massive alien beast crashed to the ground, brought down by the perfect coordination of Max's team. Around the perimeter, other handler teams stood ready, their dogs alert but calm. Jack pulled a tennis ball from his pocket, the same one Max had been playing with when the invasion began. The German shepherd's ears perked up at the familiar sight, though his eyes never left the fallen Ravager. "All units report." The base commander's voice crackled over the radio. "Status check." One by one, the handler teams called in. Despite facing creatures many times their size, the dogs had suffered only minor injuries. Their speed, agility, and perfect teamwork had proven more valuable than raw size and strength. High above the earth, Commander Vex watched the final moments of the battle through his ship's viewing system. His mighty Ravagers, the pride of the Stellar Dominion's bioweapons division, lay defeated on the ground. "Sir," Reed approached carefully, "the human commander is broadcasting on an open channel. I think they want to talk." Vex's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought in his species. "Put them through." The base commander's voice filled the alien bridge. To the commanding officer of the invasion force, "Your weapons have been neutralized. Your strategy has failed. We recommend you reconsider your position." The alien commander studied the scene below. The human handlers were checking their dogs, providing water, treating minor scrapes. Each dog stayed focused and ready despite their obvious exhaustion. "Look," Reed pointed to one of the screens. Jack had just thrown the tennis ball for Max, rewarding him for his part in taking down the final Ravager. The German shepherd caught it with practiced ease, then immediately returned to his handler's side, ready for the next command. Such a simple reward, Vex mused. No neural stimulation, no chemical reinforcement. Just play, trust, partnership. He watched as other handlers did the same, each rewarding their dogs in small personal ways. Some offered treats, others simple praise or a quick pat. The bonds between them were obvious even from orbit. "Sir," Reed said quietly, "Central Command will expect a report. What should I tell them?" Vex stood silent for a long moment, all 4 eyes fixed on the scene below. Finally, he spoke. "Tell them we encountered something unexpected, something that requires further study before we proceed. And the invasion. Would you attack a species capable of turning wolves into hundreds of specialized companions?" Vex asked. "A species that can forge such deep bonds with another that they fight as one. What else might they be capable of?" On the ground, the handler teams had begun their standard post-operation procedures. Dogs were being checked by medics, equipment was being stored, and reports were being filed. All as if they had just completed a normal training exercise rather than repelling an alien invasion. "Send the withdrawal signal," Vex ordered. "All ships are to pull back to a safe distance." As the alien fleet began to retreat, Jack sat with Max in their usual spot on the training field. The German shepherd leaned against his leg, tennis ball still in his mouth, watching the ships disappear into the clouds. "Good boy," Jack said softly, scratching behind Max's ears. "Very good boy." Around them, other handlers shared similar moments with their dogs. The bond between them, forged through thousands of years of partnership, refined through careful breeding and training, and proven in countless battles, had just saved their facility from an alien invasion. In his ship, Commander Vex made one final log entry. "Today we learned that true strength isn't measured in size or raw power. We encountered a species that turned wild predators into loyal companions, shaped them through patience and understanding rather than force. They created not just weapons, but partners. And in doing so, they revealed a level of sophistication we never expected. The invasion of Earth is hereby suspended, pending further study of human capabilities. They have much to teach us, if we're wise enough to learn." Below, as the alien ships vanished from sight, Max finally dropped his tennis ball and looked up at Jack. His expression seemed to say, "Can we go back to training now?" Jack smiled and picked up the ball. After all, good work deserved good play, even if that work happened to include saving Earth from alien invasion. Some things, it seemed, were universal, like the bond between a handler and their dog.